What is up, movie buffs, dad and daughter movie reviews? In today's review, we are going to be doing one of our favorites, and that is the Halloween movie series. So, from 13 to 1, there are 13 movies. We are going to be giving you our breakdown and opinion of what we think of the series, which movies are our least favorite, which ones are our favorite. Kind of go through and compare some notes that we have on these movies, and then as always, after the video, let us know in the comment section below what you think about these movies. Which one is your favorite? Which one do you dislike? What do you think about the newest and latest trilogy that just came out? All that sort of thing. So, without further hesitation, let's get into our list. Why don't you go first? What do you have at 13? Your least favorite movie of the series?
I have Part 8, The Resurrection. I can't even call that a movie at this point. Like, I don't know what they were doing. It's like, I get it, you're trying something new, but out of everything, and just the way that they filmed it, it made him look like they did with Freddy Krueger. Just specifically in that movie, though.
I also have Resurrection. Now, I don't dislike this movie. Just because it's last on my list does not mean that I dislike the movie. To me, this is I look at this as the probably the one movie in the series that I can just throw on and be doing stuff and walking in and out of a room, and just if I hear it or I catch a little piece of it or whatever, I'm fine. I don't feel like I'm missing too much, that sort of thing. They try to take advantage of the reality TV craze that was going on at the time, try to do something different, and it just really wasn't as effective. The thing I don't like about this movie is when Busta Rhymes is dressed like Michael and he tells him, "Get out of here, I'm the real Michael, leave," and he just "Get out of here," and Michael just listens to him and leaves. Michael would be like, "What?" and just and that'd be it, right? So kind of dumb. But yeah, I also have Resurrection at 13. What do you have at number 12?
I have Season of the Witch. I can't even say anything positive about this movie. I know you may like this movie, but I really don't like it. I don't like how Michael's not in it. I don't like how gross it truly is, because I really, really don't like bugs. That's just something that I don't like, and so that just made it worse for me. And then I'm like, okay, the concept is cool. I understand how you're making the masks and you look at the TV, but also because I'm a kid, that's just that's not how it works.
Right. I have Halloween Kills, which is the second movie in the latest trilogy that came out. I really wanted to like this one because of the beginning, firefighter scene. I really wanted to like this one because I'm a huge fan of Anthony Michael Hall, who's in this movie and plays Tommy Doyle. But I just felt like it was too cheesy, and there were certain parts of it that just didn't flow and make sense to me, and I wasn't just an overall fan of how it was kind of put together. I think it's probably the worst movie of the latest trilogy. So 12, I have Halloween Kills. What do you have at 11?
I have H2O. Okay, so I have nothing against this movie. There was just something missing for me. I don't know what it was, but there was something missing for me there. I was like, I don't like how they just completely steered off of the topic that she had a daughter. I understand that a lot of people may not like Jamie and her two movies that she's in, but I happen to really like Jamie and her character, and they just switched, and they're like, oh, she's got a son now. I was like, oh, and then she's and then I didn't understand why they had changed how Michael, it wasn't Michael that she killed at the end, it was some random guy. I didn't like that. I don't know why, but
Yeah, but you don't know that until Resurrection.
Right.
11 on my list is Halloween 2018. I liked it. I say my biggest issue with the Halloween series in general is just how many different like timelines and what not there are in them. Like if you watch Friday the 13th or you watch Nightmare on Elm Street, like it's all basically a continuation of the same thing. This one's got like, well, you know, Halloween 1 and Halloween 2 are with Halloween H2O and Resurrection, and then oh well, this series, you know, 2018 is going to act like, you know, all the other movies didn't exist, and now she's got a daughter, and then, you know, in H2O she has a son, and so there's all these different timelines. Like you have the Thorn timeline, which is 4, 5, and 6 that have nothing to do with any, you know. So that's my biggest problem is the continuity with these movies, and that would be my one knock on like 2018 would just be the fact that it goes in another direction. They didn't try and like just pick up something and say this is what we're gonna do. They like basically erased everything, and I for one am not a big fan of that. I like continuity. So 2018 for me at 11. What do you got at 10?
I have Halloween 6. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know if you remember, but I remember asking you, like, what is happening? What is happening? I don't understand what's happening. What? Huh? And it killed Jamie.
Yeah, I'll give a more kind of in-depth opinion on that when I get to that. But for sure, I can understand, you know, there's two different movies. There's the producer's cut and the theatrical cut. So they're both a little bit different in how they explain things and whatnot. Number 10, I have Halloween Ends. This one, for me, honestly, last year was probably last on my list. And it has moved up 3 spots. And I have probably gained a little more respect for it. I don't know if it'll stay there, if it'll continue to kind of grow on me. When I first saw it, I didn't like the concept. I understood they were trying to do kind of like, there were a lot of references to Halloween 3 Season of the Witch in this movie, like the blue text and kind of how they put everything together to kind of let you know, hey, this is going to be different than the previous 2 movies like they did with Halloween 3. The Corey thing, I didn't really like in the beginning, but sort of have grown an appreciation for what they tried to do with this and you know, how messed up and screwed up his life was, and that, you know, sometimes people who are like that end up turning to violence because they're so lost in their own lives, and there's that correlation on the same path as Michael, and how they kind of related to each other, and then, you know, hopefully, I don't know if this is going to be it or not. They ground up his body, so at least for this series, Michael's gone. If they decide to kick it or reboot it, who knows? But this one grew on me. I like the music a lot in this, the imagery, the kind of subtext that's hidden with Michael and Corey being kind of on the same plane in their lives. I thought that was really cool. So it's grown on me. Number 10, Halloween Ends. What do you have for number 9?
I have 1978, the original.
Now you know you're going to catch shit for this, right?
I know. I guess it wasn't. I liked that it was like the original and that they started, and that's what started it off, and everything, and that it led into the second one. But I don't know. He's like following her around, and it's like slow, and then it just feels rushed. Like he just all of a sudden is there, and then he's killing everyone, like all in a row. Whether like, well, other movies, like there's like Friday the 13th movies where he's killing people at the beginning, the middle, and the end, and he just all starts killing people at all the end, and then it's like, I don't know.
At number 9, I also have Halloween 1978. And I don't really care that people will be upset that I have it this low on the list. I have a lot of the same views that you do on it, and that is that it's very slow. And I just feel like there's movies that were better paced and that were made better and whatnot. I mean, I understand the slow burn. That's what they're trying to do, is introduce this and make it all lead up to this one night and this one event and whatnot. I get it. You know, I like a lot of the plays with the blue on the black and the white coming out of the shadows and stuff like that. I think it was awesome and brilliant the way it was made. I think it's, as far as its place in horror history, it's got to be up, near the top. So I'm not going to discredit that at all in understanding what this movie means to the horror community. But to me, it was a little bit slow. And watching it growing up, I always kind of sensed that and felt that way. But it really hit for me when, I don't even know how many years ago it was now, 5, 6, 7. I went with my wife. I went with my sisters and their husbands, and we all went out to dinner, and then we went to see Halloween 1978 on the big screen. And maybe halfway through the movie, we're all just like dragging. Like, I'm looking over at everybody, and they're just like you could just tell that the energy wasn't there, and it was super boring. And that to me, left a lasting impression on me on how I feel about the movie. Like, if it feels that way on the big screen, it's definitely going to come across that way on the small screen. And for example, before you say, well, it's an older movie, and we went and saw the final chapter, Friday the 13th, the final chapter, a couple weeks ago on the big screen, and it was better on the big screen than it was on the small screen. She was jumping in spots that she knew things were coming. There was energy, there was whatever. So to say that it was just because it was on the big screen and it's an older movie, no, it just wasn't. It's okay. I like it, but if I go to reach for one or watch one, it's not going to be one of the first ones I watch. What do you have at 8?
I have Halloween 4.
Okay.
Okay, I have a lot of thoughts on this one. So Jamie's sister, they killed her off at the beginning of 5 instead of just killing her off at 4. She could have died heroically, hitting Michael with her car, and then they came off or something. I don't know, but there's that one, and then it leads into 5, which I happen to really like that movie, and there was something missing for me in 4. I don't know what it was exactly, but I guess part of it was that she killed her off so late. And the second one, instead of just killing her off in that one.
Number 8 for me, I have Halloween 5. This movie's okay. This movie to me probably feels the most rushed of all the movies in the series, and that is because it was rushed. This is the only movie of the series where they were actually filming the movie and writing it at the same time. So there were certain pages and whatnot of text and whatnot that hadn't even been written until they were actually filming the movie. They were trying to get it out super quick. It came out right after part 4. That's why Jamie really hasn't aged much in this movie, is because they literally started filming it right away. And to me, it sort of feels that way. It feels like a continuation of 4, but just a little bit rushed. I'm not a huge fan of the mask in this. I feel like it's probably one of the worst of the series. And kind of just the long hair, and just a lot of it's weird, but I do enjoy watching it. It's not like I hate this movie. I don't. It's just on the back half of my list. What do you have at 7?
Halloween
Kills.
I guess I could say the same reasons as you, that it's not in my top half, but I don't have a lot to say about this one. I just know that I enjoyed it more than the other ones. I just can't tell you why. I don't really know. There was just something that caught my interest on this one. So.
Okay, number 7 for me is going to be Halloween 3: Season of the Witch. And this movie I have ranked at 7 because it's in the Halloween series itself, not necessarily because it's a bad movie. I feel like if this movie was a standalone movie and they just called it Season of the Witch and didn't have Halloween attached to it, it would probably have hit harder, been more of a kind of cult classic. It's still, over the years, kind of grown cult status amongst horror fans and Halloween fans, but I feel like it probably would have done better had they done that off the bat, considering Michael Myers was not going to be in it. And the reason for that, I don't know if a lot of people know this, so I'll share this with you, is that Deborah Hill and John Carpenter wanted to sort of look at building a Halloween series, but they wanted each movie to be a different story. So it wasn't going to be everything as Michael Myers. It was going to be Michael Myers, okay, he's dead in part 2. Now we're doing Season of the Witch. And then part 4, we're going to do a different story. So it was going to be a collective kind of series called Halloween, that each movie was going to have its own separate kind of storyline. And then obviously with, H3 bombing when it came out, they decided to later come out and bring Michael Myers back because that's what the fans sort of demanded. But I really like this movie. I'm a huge fan of, Tom Atkins is awesome. He's a horror legend. He was in Creepshow, Night of the Creeps. Like, he's a legend in the horror community. The character of Cochran is absolutely awesome. This concept of, this guy in this higher power trying to, create mass to wipe out, a generation of children is just, it's crazy. I really like the town that they filmed it in, the Santa Mira or whatever. The factory scenes, the little hotels, the dark kind of, it had a lot of Halloween feel to the way it was shot and whatnot. But I'm a huge fan of this movie. Just because I have it at 7 doesn't mean I think this movie is sucker, that I think this movie is mid. I don't at all. I really, really, really like this movie. I'm a huge fan of it. I watch it all the time. So a big fan of Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. What do you have at 6?
I have 2018.
Okay.
So, here are my thoughts on this one. There's a couple things that I don't like about this one. I don't like how they went from Jamie to a son to another daughter who had a daughter, and then I'm like, what is this? I'm like, you should have just kept the story going. I mean, you had a daughter, a son, a daughter, and then her daughter had a daughter. And I'm like, now he's coming after her. I'm like, I like where they went with it, and I like the movie. Like, I like that, she came back, like, Jamie Lee Curtis. We love Jamie Lee Curtis. She came back, and she was like this bad character who's like, oh yeah, you want to go, you like traumatized me, so now I'm like this, and there's no way I'm letting you live if you come across my path again. I like that.
Yeah. Just to kind of piggyback off that, I had it obviously farther down the list, but this movie and H2O are really, I think, the best acting movies of the series for Jamie Lee Curtis. I think those movies are the ones she shows trauma the most in, and more versatility in her character and her acting. I totally agree. I think she was really good in this one. So at number 6 for me, I have Halloween 4: The Return of Michael Myers. I have this one in the middle. I think it's a good movie. I really enjoy, the entire movie from the beginning to sort of the end. There's not something that the only thing I would say about this is it has the worst mask of the series. We get this awesome poster that's mask of awesome. It looks like the original mask, and then we get into the movie and it just looks like, a glob of shit, basically on George P. Wilbur's face. And so that was the worst part for me, was his look in this movie of the mask, and then also underneath his jumpsuit, he kind of looks like a box, kind of like a Roblox character. And that was because they put hockey goalie chest protector underneath the costume to make him sort of look a little bit bulkier, and it just did not come off on screen. So I like this movie. I do not like the look of Michael in any way, so that's why I have it at 6. What do you have at 5?
I have Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Okay.
So I actually really, really like Rob Zombie's movies. Like, I think they're very unique in their own way. And like, when he did Halloween, I was like, who's Rob Zombie? Who's Rob Zombie? And then I watched his movies, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
He definitely has a unique style.
We got something here. And I'm like, he's a lot scarier in these, and it's a lot more like graphic and gory and like real world what would actually be happening during this stuff, and like what happens, and like that, like she was traumatized and she did like drugs and things like that. And
Drinking.
I liked how they also brought the actor, here we go for Jamie again, they brought her back to play her friend again. So
Yep.
I was like, oh, that's great.
Daniel Harris was brought back, which was, a big homage to the fans. I'm gonna piggyback off that. I also have Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 at 5. I agree with what you said, that these movies to me feel the most realistic as far as like how they're put together, the concept, like the visuals. There's a lot of like Michael walking around, through fields and going to different buildings and whatnot, and he has a backpack and stuff like that. Like, that's the thing that, I appreciate about these remakes, and I also appreciate about Friday the 13th remake is them going more in depth into the character, into the, to the story, into explaining kind of some of those missing pieces that the other movies don't have. If you look at the Halloween series, it's just like, what happens 364 days a year? Then all of a sudden Michael's here, and like, where was he at? Where was he living? What was he doing? How does he always find a mask? Like there are all these kind of things that you're just kind of left open for interpretation, and I think this movie kind of shuts those things down and gives you more of an idea of what he does, what he looks like, that he's traveling like a normal human being, and it makes a whole lot of sense. This one is very violent and very gory. I think that Scout Taylor Compton's performance in this as Laurie is the best of any Laurie in the series. She is much more believable and whatnot as a traumatized individual than Jamie Lee Curtis is in any of the movies, in my opinion. And again, I don't care what anybody says about that. That's what I see when I watch it. I thought she did a fantastic job. I'm just a really big fan of his movies. The one thing that I am not as high on is the whole white horse thing, but I understand it. They explained it at the beginning. A lot of people don't like that, and that's kind of what drags this movie down for most people. But overall, I mean, it's a really decent movie. So number 5, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Getting into our Mount Rushmore top 4, what do you have at number 4?
I have Halloween Ends.
Okay.
I went through a period where I was obsessed with this movie, let's just say that. I actually really, really liked what they did. Like, I get you didn't like what they did with Corey, but I really, really did like what they did with Corey, because it kind of tied into Jamie, how in part 5, Jamie was like being controlled by him. Because I talk a lot about Jamie. And I liked how they did that. And also this one felt like I understood why they went for Corey, because he gets bullied. Like, he got thrown off a bridge, for heaven's sake. And like, he, at the beginning of the movie, spoiler alert, he accidentally like killed a little kid. Like, traumatic things happen to this guy, and he's getting bullied, and like, villains are just broken heroes. Like, truly.
Yeah.
That's why I like this movie.
Yeah, the music is good.
Like I love music, yeah.
The concept is good. Number 4 on my list is going to be Halloween 2, 1981. I like this movie much better than I like 1978. I feel like it's got a better pace. I feel like it's a better movie. I really like the beginning where they kind of piggyback off of the 1978 original, and Loomis comes out of the house and pats the ground and sees that Michael's been shot, and the neighbor comes out. He's like, "Tell the sheriff I shot him," and then they just, it's them trying to basically find him, and then him tracking Laurie down at the hospital. I think it's very well done and very effective. It's got Lance Guest in it, who is the last Starfighter. He's in Jaws: The Revenge. I'm a big fan of him as well. So I really like this movie. I like it better than the original. I know I've talked to some people that agree. I talked to some people that don't, but I think it's a better movie. So what do you have at number 3?
I have Halloween 2. Okay, so I was telling you about this earlier. I was saying there's something about horror movies in hospitals, mental hospitals, I don't know what it is. It just makes me want to watch it. It's creepier. I don't know. I love the music in this one. There's one song that really catches my ear. It's one where she's like limping through the hospital, like gotten out of her bed. She's like hiding. She starts to run away from Michael, and then he like comes in and slips on the blood, and it's like that really creepy, eerie, like in your face music, and I really like that. The one thing I don't like about this movie is how Jamie Lee Curtis acts as Laurie, because like she doesn't seem traumatized. She's sitting there, she's like,
yeah. It's definitely not as good as
like,
Scout Taylor Compton.
and I'm like, girl, do you not remember what just happened to you? Like, that's traumatizing. Halloween, babysitting kids, and some guy with a knife comes in, and then all of a sudden you're in a hospital, he's stalking you. Like, that's the one thing I didn't like.
Yeah, she for all the credit that she gets for being like the original Scream Queen or whatever, I just don't feel like her acting or performances in the first two Halloweens are that good. I think she's definitely better in H2O. I think she's better in the the latest trilogy that came out. I think the acting is definitely better. I don't think she was that good or that believable in the first two movies, and that's just my opinion. I think you will agree with that. Number 3 on my list is going to be Halloween H2O. These movies, so the top 3 movies for me typically fluctuate. I'm just going to be honest with you about that. Some of my lists may be the same, or some of them may be in the same spot year to year, but I really fluctuate, with my top 3, maybe my top 3 or 4 movies in this series, and that's just because it depends on what mood I'm in. I may be in the mood for something that's a little more old school, or I may be, in the mood for something that's a little more hip and fresh, or I may be in the mood for something that's a little bit darker or more violent or whatever. So it just kind of depends on how I really feel. I think last year I had Halloween H2 at number 1 on my list, so that just goes to show you things kind of shift. I really like this movie. This is the first. I mean, I saw Halloween 6 obviously. In theaters. I probably shouldn't have, but I did. And then, I really remember Halloween H2O and kind of that time period of my life being in high school and kind of being more influential and whatnot during that time period. It has Josh Hartnett, Jamie Lee Curtis is obviously back, LL Cool J. It's got, Michelle Williams. It's got a lot of people in it. And this one kind of feels. People say this all the time, and I guess I can sort of see where it's coming from. People say this movie sort of feels more like a Scream movie than it does a Halloween movie. And I get that. Kevin Williamson and Steve Miner, they were, involved in this movie, so I can get why it may, sort of feel that way. But, I like it. It's enjoyable. I really liked taking it to Hillcrest Academy. And that kind of claustrophobia that it creates inside of a school. We all, have had thoughts or whatever about being trapped maybe in a school and where we would go or where we would hide or whatever. And this movie kind of delivers on that kind of fear, that phobia. So number 3 for me, but could be 2, could be 1, is Halloween H2O. Getting into our top 2, what do you have at 2?
I have Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Okay.
I have a lot to say about this one, and it's really good stuff. Okay, the girl who plays Laurie Strode is absolutely
Scout Taylor Compton.
Amazing in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she is, honestly, she's better than Jamie Lee Curtis for sure. And like I said, it feels really realistic. Like, that's really what happened. I think it was when they were up in the attic in his house and they got pushed out of the window and she had to shoot him in the face. She was screaming for her life, and I was like, Dad, why is she screaming? He's like, if you just shot someone in the face, wouldn't you be screaming? And that felt really real. And then I don't know, the way she acted, and that was really good. And I think I like how they went to Michael's, how he was a kid and how it really all started, and where he got his mask from, what he did in his pastime, how he got his suit thing that he wears from the mechanic place. He's really tall in this one. He's definitely a lot more scary.
Menacing.
He runs.
Menacing.
I know, and it's shows why he wears the mask, and how when he was in the mental asylum, he made the masks, and like there was this mask room, and it was really good. I like how they put it together.
Number 2 on my list is going to be Halloween 6: The Curse of Michael Myers. I really like this movie. Paul Rudd's introduction to film. This is the last movie that we get to see Donald Pleasance, Dr. Loomis. This is his last appearance before he passed away. I really, really like how dark and scary and violent and whatever this movie is. Before Rob Zombie's Halloweens, to me, this was the scariest and darkest Halloween movie that there ever was. And I really, George P. Wilbur plays Michael Myers in this one. He played Michael Myers in part 4, but he looks way better in this one. They ditched the stupid, hockey thing underneath. They made him a better mask. They just let him be himself, and I thought he did an amazing job. I thought the look of Michael Myers in this movie was awesome. There are 2 different movies. There's a theatrical cut and the producer's cut. The producer's cut isn't as violent and doesn't have as many kills, but it explains more and it makes more sense. There's some different scenes that, like Michael following Kara to school and like coming out from behind a tree. Or, in the beginning when he pushes that nurse's head on the pike. Instead of her just turning around in the mask coming out of the shadows, you can actually, in the producer's cut, see him walk from around the corner, which is cool. When he kills John Strode in the basement, and in the theatrical cut, his like head explodes or whatever in the theatrical cut. Well, again, in this one, you actually see Michael come from around a corner in the basement to grab him, and the death to me is a little more realistic. I'm not as big a fan of the ending of the producer's cut with these like ruined stones where they put them in a circle and it like traps Michael and keeps him there. I do prefer the theatrical cut with Paul Rudd coming in to rescue Kara and Michael coming in and slashing up all the doctors and everything in the medical room, and then the kind of fight at the end where they hit him with the pipe and all that. To me, that ending is better. If I could maybe mix the producer's cut, first 3/4 of the movie with the end of the theatrical cut, I think that'd be the perfect version of this movie, in my opinion. But I am a huge fan of this movie. Like the kills, like how dark and scary it is. Huge fan. So that'll obviously lead us to number 1. What do you have at number 1?
I have Halloween 5.
Halloween 5. Revenge of Michael Myers.
I've been talking a lot about Jamie, and I'm going to talk even more about her because I really, really, really love Jamie. No idea why. She's like 9 in this movie, and I like how she I don't know, I really like when he's chasing her through the house and she's like hiding in different places, and then she goes upstairs and finds her sister, and then I'm like, uh-oh. And then I don't really like in this one how she how Michael freezes when she's like, "Uncle," and he's like,
yeah.
And then he takes off his mask what were you thinking? But I do like how Loomis is you can't tell at the beginning whether or not he wants Jamie dead, but then he's like, "Oh, I see you still want this girl dead." He's like, I don't want her dead. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then he's controlling her. In the end of part 4, she stabbed her mom. I like Tina. A lot of people don't like Tina because of how annoying she is, but
yeah, a lot of people have Tina in their bottom 2 characters of the whole movie.
But I like Tina. That's really my Halloween 5.
That's going to lead me to my number 1, which is Rob Zombie's Halloween. Again, talked about it a little at the Rob Zombie Halloween 2 spot, but I like the deep dive into the psyche of the character. The first 45 minutes of the movie is really, Michael's childhood, Michael at, Smith's Grove, these conversations with his mom, these conversations with the guards, his conversations with Dr. Loomis, and you get more of an idea of maybe why he is the way that he is. It's not just, okay, he's crazy and he's killing people one day. There's a deep dive into the character and the things that happened to him and traumatized him, and how he started killing, which is, how a lot of serial killers end up, starting out as killing animals first and then human beings. So it's very realistic from that standpoint. Again, I'll agree with you that Scout Taylor Compton is the best Laurie of the series. Don't care what anybody says. You know, I like the fact that they brought Danielle Harris back, had her play Annie. Just a huge fan of this movie. I like Malcolm McDowell, who plays Dr. Loomis. Is he better than Donald Pleasance? No. But I thought if you're going to replace him with somebody, that's a pretty good choice. I like him. I like how violent this movie, like you said, the realism, the realistic feel to this movie. And maybe that's why Halloween 1978 felt like in 1978. I don't know. It feels a little bit dated and whatever when you watch it now, but this movie feels more realistic and real. Tyler Mane as Michael is absolutely a fucking menace. Sorry, I tried not to cuss the entire movie, but I did. He is a menace in this movie. Very violent. The kills are very realistic, and I think he has the best portrayal, the best mask in the entire series, and is in this movie, in my opinion. And I'm just a huge fan of this movie. You know, it's a little over 2 hours, but there's a deep dive into why he is this way. It's not just like, oh, mom and dad pull up to the house, Michael, and he's like,
hi.
You know, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, he escaped from Smith Grove and he's gonna go kill everybody. Why is he that way? What happened to him? Was he bullied? What was the trauma that happened in his life to make him the way that he is? And this movie goes into a deep dive into explaining that, and you get this whole build of this character. So by the time you see him as this 6'6" Michael Myers with this mask on, you have a good idea of who he is, what he is, why he is, and how he got there. And so that's what I'm a huge fan of. I'm a huge fan of Rob Zombie's movies anyway, for the most part. But I thought he did a great job with these movies. I know that a lot of people don't like him. I feel like there's kind of a shift that's happened over the last couple of years where people are really starting to appreciate them more for what they are, and I like to see that. So this is our list. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what my list looked like last year, so you can kind of see the shift here. I didn't do Season of the Witch last year, so I had Resurrection, Kills, 78, 2018, Halloween 5, Halloween 4, Halloween 6, Ends, Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween, and then H2O. So you can see there's kind of a shift that has happened. And again, it depends on my mood. It depends on what I like. I don't ever feel like you should always just stay stuck in something. You should always be trying to evolve and think about things and look at things differently if you want to experience growth. So that's what I try to do with my movie list. So that's it from us. We hope you enjoyed this video. Let us know what you think about the Halloween series. Which one's your favorite? Which one is your least favorite? Which ones do you like? Which ones do you not like? Which timeline do you like? Do you like, Laurie more with a son, more with a daughter? What do you think about Halloween Season of the Witch? Where does that fit amongst everything? We'll obviously appreciate hearing about that. And until the next one, we are out.